Alright, so this should be probably the last video. So this last part is going to be about allowing it so that the rig can scale properly. Because right now, if I grab the global controller, as you can see here, and here, if I press R, notice the beveling, right? If I jack it up, if I zoom in on the beveling, you see how the beveling starts to look and feel like more fluffy, right? If I jack it up more, see? Basically, the scaling gets messed up. This one here is, you'll be able to tell right now, you know, may not seem as noticeable, but it's there. It makes problems. It just, trust me, it just makes freaking problems. So undo, press F. As you can see, it's actually tighter, see? Versus before, when I jack it up huge, right? I mean, some may think, what's the big deal? It looks so more or less the same, but it's not. Especially for more advanced character model types, it will cause mayhem. So the whole point is that basically what happens is this mesh and its delta mush. The delta mush, I don't know what exactly it does, but it does some kind of an algorithm or something that it makes the binding butter smooth, like I showed before. But you'll notice in the delta mush, it has its own scale X, Y, and Z. The delta mush. So basically what needs to happen is that the global controller, right, it needs to specifically link up and connect to the delta mush's own specific scale properties in order for the mesh and the rig in general to behave and look normal as it scales up or scales down. This requires something called a connection editor. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I first make sure that this thing's all balanced out normal. I'm going to go in Window, General Editors, Connection Editor. Like so. Connection editor. Yep. You want the connection editor. This is different from the light linking editor. Totally different. Connection editor is what you want. You want to make sure that this button, click it, you want to make sure this says to and from. You want to make sure that it says inputs, outputs. See? To and from. Inputs, outputs. You want to make sure this says reload left, reload right, right? First thing I want to do is I want to select the mesh. I want to select specifically the delta mush 1. So once I selected this, I'm going to hit reload left. But before that, on the left display, make sure you have show inputs only, and then I'm gonna uncheck show keyable. I'm gonna uncheck show hidden. So the left display column should only have show inputs only. I'm gonna tear it off so you can see it here as a reminder, only that. The reason why I unchecked some of these is that the stack gets super long with a whole bunch of information I don't need. When I have this on, only that will show. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna select the mesh, I'm gonna select delta mush, and I'm gonna go reload left. And this is all I see now because I only clicked on that. Next, I'm gonna select the global controller. As you can see, there's no data in here. As you can see, it's not blue, meaning that the constraint process was done right previously. I'm just talking about it as a reminder. Right display, tear it off, like so. That one. This one should be show readable. I'm going to also uncheck show non-cubable. Then I'm going to, while the global control is selected, I'm going to reload right, plop. That's what we have. This and this. This is the mesh, H mesh, just to confirm, with the delta mush. This is H global controller, right, in here. Show readable, show inputs, uncheck everything else. Then you want to select the scale for the global control. Make sure that you have to and from, inputs, outputs, select scale. On this side, under the inputs, I'm going to select the delta mush, its scale. Once you do that, you will notice here, this is the global control. This is not the mesh channel box. This is the global control. Now it also has a new thing under its outputs. Its outputs, if I click on delta mush 1, right, what happened was that delta mush's properties and crap is now also being linked up to the controller. You'll notice that this is in yellow. This yellow means that there's a connection editor, custom connection connecting between the delta mush on the mesh with the global controller so that they're interconnected. That's why it's yellow. Here's the global controller. See? I'm going to close this. I'm going to just show what happens. If I grab the global controller and if I scale this, right, let me just crack this open so you can see the correlation. Global controller, scale X, Y, and Z is at 1, and here, right, output, scale X, Y, Z, and Z in yellow. So whatever, basically what's happening is that whatever is in this mesh, its delta mush is here. This information is also now available to see on the global controller down here. This is the global controller. Here. If I jack up the global controller, this will update. See? 18 or 20 even. And then also the delta mush, its scale properties are also concurrently scaled to 20. So the delta mush and its magical properties matches the scale. See? See how the before now, you can now see the tightness over here. Tightness, whereas before you didn't. See? Controller. Global controller, scaled it to 20. The delta mush special sauce, it also concurrently jacked up the scale to 20 to match it. Basically the delta mush scale matches the overall scale. I can select the global controller. I can drop this down to 1. Press F to frame it. And the delta mush, when I select the mesh, delta mush 1, It also matches back down to 1. Select the global controller, click on the outputs for Delta Mush, 1 to 1. So what this means now is that the rig is complete. It is stable and complete. Before I leave, I want to show about, for example, if I wanted to show it squashing, right? Because if I grab the center of gravity, right, and if I pull it down, the whole thing moves down. The center of gravity is your main driver of the rig. So if I pull it down, I cannot do a squash, or it's, at least it looks like I cannot do a squash. So what I can do is, this is a trick workaround that I've made tutorials on. I'm gonna set this to general, reset general to factory default, so I can see my timeline. I gotta be careful. I never want to be able to select the bones again. I set this to reference. I hide it. I don't want to be able to select the mesh anymore either. That's why I set to reference. Only thing I need to be able to select is the controllers. And you can see here now, everything is self-contained. The main group is locked out. Inside of it has the other guys. So this is a complete rig, airtight and solid. Well, for the most part. For an intro class, it's airtight. You won't have something called inverse kinematics, right? I just decided to keep it forward kinematics. There's workarounds to something of that, being the inverse kinematics, which I'll talk about in class. What I'm going to do is just show this part. If I want this to look like it's squashing, right? Well, let's say, first of all, I grab all the controllers. The bones are hidden. They're locked out. Mesh is hidden. The mesh is locked out. Those are important. You never want to keyframe the bones. You never want to keyframe the mesh. Hence R and R for reference. I select all the controllers. I hit S. This is keyframed. Then let's say I want to show it bending, like it's going to squash. I want to select this. I want to select that. Select that. I want to select that. I want to select that. I want to select that. Be careful when it says clone. Be careful about that. As a matter of fact, I'll click on the tool settings. I'm going to go under shift drag, tool settings, which is the hammer. Shift drag for the move tool, tool settings, uncheck, uncheck. That way I don't accidentally shift drag duplicate things. See, this is the stupidest thing on the planet. I wish they never invented this. Now I'm gonna select this. I'm also gonna select this. I'm gonna press E as in Edward. I'm gonna go forward like 10 frames. I'm gonna bend like so to make it look like it's bending. That. Then let's say I want to show the squash, right? The way I cheat around it is, okay, undo. At this frame, wait, hit S at frame 10. Then I'm gonna bend it. See, I grab from the top down up to here. I bend it. Then I'm gonna grab the center of gravity. Why isn't this keyframe? Weird. Alright, I just made sure to that all the controllers are keyframed. Anyway, I grabbed the center of gravity, frame 10. I'm gonna lower it down this much. And you may be thinking, why the hell am I doing this? Why am I sinking it below the ground level? Well, the trick that I do is this. I select this, I select that, I select that. Basically, I select the legs up to here and up to here. I don't really select that one. Space bar into any of the front or side. And I lift it up. It's a hack, it's a cheat. What the fuck? Why isn't this lifting up? Uh-oh, something break? Uh-oh, shit. Uh-oh, this is not good. Huh? I didn't parent this. It's a good thing I caught that. I'm gonna undo some of this. I could have sworn. Okay. Uh-oh. Shit. Please stop, freeze. Don't freeze. I missed something. This maybe I didn't bind the skin on, not bind the skin, but maybe I didn't. No, I did parent it. No, I mean it constrained it. So why the freaking hell is it doing that? Why is this frozen? I gotta restart this. Alright, so I had to restart Maya. This is exactly where I had left off, where I have the skinning going on, and I did the Delta Mush connection editor. And so I was showing before, what happened was that I had forgotten to do the connection. I can't believe I forgot to do it. The parent constraints for the lower leg. Yeah, because I did it for these, but not for these. I could have swore I did. So this one I did, right? The lower ones I didn't. Right, because I went this way in. I forgot about the lower legs. So this is a good example where even though I skinned everything and everything else was done, I still can go back in. I'm going to hide the mesh. I'm gonna make the bones unreferenced, and then I'm gonna grab the controller. I'm going to shift select the corresponding bone nub. See, yeah, these guys, they don't have red. See, they don't have the red constraints for this quadrant, this section. Yep. Okay, so it's good to have caught that. See, the joint is not in blue. There's no constraint influence. So like I said, you got the controller, you shift select the bone nub corresponding, you go into rigging, go into constraint, right? Constraint, parent constraint, right, this one right here, there. Wait. Constraint, parent constraint, option box. Stupid crap. Why isn't this there? Control Shift left click, get rid of that old one. I'm gonna click this now. As you can see, blue, the way it should be, just like on this one, blue. Grab the controller, shift select the corresponding bone nub, press G, repeat the last command. Grab this, shift select the bone nub corresponding, press G. Grab this controller, shift select the bone nub, press G. Grab this controller, shift select the bone nub, press G. Good, everything is set up. Totally skip that. It's always good to test. Totally forgot about that. Yeah. Now when I turn on the mesh, and again, I'm doing this after the fact that I binded the skin. I'm doing this after the fact that I did all the other stuff, and it's still stable. So if I grab this, works like a charm. Alright, so that's 21 minutes. I'm gonna have to end this one here. I won't go over than that. So this rig is officially finalized. Right, I tested everything out. I'm gonna show it again. That was a good learning example, learning experience about having to be careful and double check everything ahead of time. Yep, we're golden. Obviously this is to be expected. If we drop this down to 10, smoothing iterations, delta mush for the mesh. So whatever. 20 is fine. I'm gonna hide set the bones to reference, hide the bones, select all the controllers. I want to zero out everything minus the scale. Now we're back to default. Let's save this as H alphabet rig final. I guess finalized or final, one of those. And that's it, the rig is done. And I'm tired. I'm gonna maybe if I have time make a video about how to show squash and stretch. But that one I already made a video. That video is under the rigging specific topics, under the animated letter R, number 16, how to pose your rig to fake squash and stretch. It's the exact same scenario, right? But it works. Like when I show the animation, it clearly shows that the fakery involved with it, right? Because it's basically faking IK inverse kinematics. Yeah, so that's the end of that. This rig is solid, airtight. Yep. All right, that's it. Bye.